In today's Fox Files, the Columbine high school shootings have brought a controversial issue back into the spotlight. Do violent movies and video games push teenagers into acts of violence? Some experts, including one of the guests we'll hear from in tonight's Faceoff, say the media is actually training kids to kill. Can a popular culture full of violence create a society of killers? Gary Matsumoto reports so you can decide.
Ooh, I needed that.
Duke Nukem, a bestseller in a genre of video games known as first-person shooters that put you behind the pistol grip. Click the mouse and you pull the trigger. A retired Army Ranger and professor at West Point says this video game and others like it employ the same techniques the military used to encourage soldiers to fire their weapons in combat.
In World War II, it appears that among individual riflemen left to their own devices, maybe 15 to 20% would fire at an exposed enemy soldier. By Vietnam, we got it up to 95%.
Colonel Grossman believes violent video games have a pernicious effect. They're not only conditioning kids to enjoy killing, he says, it's helping make them into pint-sized lethal weapons.
The FBI says in the average engagement, the average officer hits with less than 1 bullet in 5. In the Amadou Diallo shootings, 4 elite NYPD officers at point-blank range fired 41 shots and hit 19 times. That's the norm. Michael Carneal, who's never fired a pistol before in his life, fires 8 shots. How many hits does he get? 8 shots, 8 hits on 8 different kids. 5 of them are headshots. The other 3 are upper torso. Now, where did he get that supernatural, superhuman skill? From the video games. He had played and played and played and fired countless thousands of rounds.
Age may be a factor, too. In World War II, the average age of a combat infantryman was about 26. In Vietnam, as this pop song points out,
he was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19.
Age is a key factor in this dynamic. The younger you are, the more vulnerable you are to this.
This 25-year-old says he plays video games without feeling homicidal afterwards.
I just lost and I walked away smiling, happy as can be. You know, so to tell me that I have anger and aggression because of it, I would have to disagree with that.
Looking at the Japanese market, here you have a society where there's almost no violent crime, almost no drug use, and yet there's an arcade on almost every corner, a video game in every house, and video games in general are completely ingrained into their culture and society.
Defenders of Duke Nukem and other games like it say bloodbaths like Littleton are rooted in unhappy homes or easy access to guns, not video games. Video game critics say the school massacres are evidence that America's children are turning what is virtual into reality. In New York, Gary Matsumoto, Fox News.
So do violent movies and video games really turn our kids into killers? That is the subject of our Fox Face-Off today. Joining us is a noted authority on the topic, retired Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. Welcome. And video game authority and editor-in-chief of PC Gamer magazine, Gary Whitta. Welcome to you as well. Thank you both for joining us this evening. Mr. Grossman, investigators have now confirmed that both of the teenage killers were users of a vicious video game. Do you think there is any link between their massacre and their use of these violent video games?
Paula, we don't think it, we know it. We're going to prove it in a court of law in the Paducah case. The United States military, the United States armed forces, First World Armed Forces and militaries around the world use these training devices in order to enable individuals to kill, to hit their target, and to make killing a reflex. The American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, National Institute of Mental Health, the Attorney General, the Surgeon General, and last year the United Nations in a major UNESCO study have all made definitive statements about the link between visual media violence and real-world violent behavior in individuals. And
Before you go any further, can you explain to me what you mean by a training device?
Well, what we have and what we have available to us is a device. Well, the best example is the one that we use in every National Guard armory in America. There's a little plastic M16 that you hold in your hands and you sight down it and you aim at man-shaped silhouettes that pop up on the screen. We call it the Nintendo game, and one of the major reasons is because I'm told it's manufactured by Nintendo. And it is designed, and the military pays millions of dollars to that corporation in order to perfect the marksmanship and the killing skills of individuals whose job it is to kill in the line of duty. Now,
let's give Mr. Whitta a chance to respond to some of what you said. Mr. Whitta, let's go back to his original charge that he can prove that there was a link between the use of these video games and the massacre.
Well, I'd be very, very interested to see if he can do that. My personal view is that the comparison between computer game action and violence and violence in the real world it's simply absurd. I've been playing these games for 20 years, and I'm just fine.
Yeah.
You're just fine, but do you think it's possible that you are able to make a distinction between reality and fantasy when more impressionable kids cannot?
Well, it depends what you mean by impressionable. I'm able to make a distinction between reality and fantasy because the distinction between the two is just absolutely immense. If you were to take one of the video games that's being discussed here and put it on a TV screen and show that to somebody next to acts of real violence taking place, I think you would have to be pretty unstable in the first place and not be able to make a distinction between those two forms of violence.
But would you not agree that if a young child is sitting at the screen for hours and hours a day, it could desensitize this kid to violence and acts of violence?
No, I don't think so, because what you're looking at in these games that are available to the public, and I must make a distinction here. I'm sorry, but I wasn't aware that Nintendo was a military contractor. I'm pretty sure that they are not. And in terms of the kind of simulations that are produced for the armed forces and the kind that are available for regular people to go and buy in the stores, I'm sorry, but there is an absolute world of difference. There is no way that the armed forces train with games like Doom and Quake, the kind of games that kids play. That's an absurdity.
That isn't really what you were suggesting, Mr. Grossman. Were you talking about the actual technique and the hand-eye coordination that
the hand-eye
coordination?
Required? Paula, the hand-eye coordination, the techniques, but actually the Marine Corps, the United States Marine Corps, has used Doom as a training device, and it is my understanding indeed that Nintendo makes that exact same device where you fire a plastic M16 at targets on the screen. Now, the reality is that we can provide those mechanisms to those kids, and as far as saying that the link is absurd, well, let's go ahead and tell that to the parents of 13 kids in Colorado today. We had a 14-year-old boy in Paducah, Kentucky, who had never fired a pistol before in his life. He walked into a prayer circle. It's not a great compact mass of kids. A prayer circle, and he picked up a .22 caliber pistol that he had stolen and fired a couple of practice shots from, and he opens fire. He fires 8 shots on 8 different milling, scrambling, screaming children. He gets 8 hits on 8 different kids, 5 of them headshots, the other 3 upper torso. Now that is absolutely unprecedented.
What does that have to do with the use of a video game?
Well, the thing about that young man is that he learned that remarkable marksmanship skills from the video games. He had played and played and played them. He held the gun up in a two-handed stance. He got a blank look on his face. He never fired far to the left. He never fired far to the right. He just put one bullet in the head of everything that popped up on his screen. Just as I am a law enforcement trainer, and the head of every major national and international law enforcement training organization are prepared to testify in court that these games are identical to the products that are available to kids. And tomorrow, I'm going to Florida to train special operations soldier. I'm one of the nation's leading special ops and law enforcement trainers. And both of those communities are in tremendous consensus.
Your response to that, Mr. Whitta?
I'm sorry, but first of all, let's take issue with the assumption that the United States Marine Corps and the armed forces are being trained using a game like Doom. If that's the case, I'm leaving the country because I don't feel safe. If the people that are charged with the protection of this country against military invasion are being taught to defend the country by using a game like Doom, we're not in a very safe position. And I'd just like to make a very, very big distinction between the idea when you play a video game, the controllers that you use to play that game, you use the same computer mouse to aim and point the weapon to kill the monsters and the creatures on the screen that you use to control your Excel spreadsheet. Now, Mr. Grossman, I'm sure, is an experienced military man and has fired a real weapon. If he is seriously trying to tell the public that using a computer mouse will enable you to fire a heavy and oily bolt-action rifle or a machine gun, it's absurd. I've been playing these games for 20 years. If you gave me an Uzi or an M16, I would not have a clue what to do with it. I would probably miss every shot on the target. It's an absolute absurdity to assume that games like Doom can be used to train killers. If that was the case, why are we paying millions and millions of dollars for these computer simulations when they could just go to Electronics Boutique and buy Doom for $50 and train the Marine Corps that way?
Paula.
Mr. Whitta, we're going to have to leave it there. Mr. Grossman, that's all we have time for. I'd love to be able to independently confirm that, but you've piqued my interest as to if and when the Marines have used that technique.
Yes.
But no doubt your conversation has reminded us that